As Nintendo begins to take on new forms, it's important that we can measure how addictive they truly are.
The new Game Boy Micro. Extremely portable. Extremely stylish.
Nerdlayer. In September of 2005, Nintendo released a smaller, lighter redesign of the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Micro. It was the final console to be released in the Game Boy line of handhelds. According to Nintendo of America's VP George Harrison, the idea for the smaller GBA was first whispered in 2004. He stated that unlike most conventional console development processes, Nintendo always had the original Game Boy in the back of their minds, always thinking of new ideas for the handheld. Developed under the codename Oxy, Nintendo tried many different ways to make the Game Boy as small as they possibly could. In the end, the best way to do this was using a metallic casing to ensure quality and durability. To quote the late Satoru Iwata, the concept for the metal casing was unusual for Nintendo.
Unusual indeed. This thing is almost like an heirloom item. Because of the metal housing, it feels like something that's precious, like a pocket watch, something you would hand down from generation to generation. And with such a small canvas to work with, there was bound to be limitations to the handheld.
Though the Micro does retain some of the functionality of the Game Boy Advance SP, but in a much more compact form factor. Sadly, it cannot play original Game Boy games as well as Game Boy Color games because of the small design. Something interesting to note is that it does have the chipset required to play older Game Boy games, but it lacks the necessary internal hardware for backwards compatibility, as well as other Game Boy peripherals being incompatible because of that. To put it simply, it only plays GBA games. Oh yeah, and it plays the GBA video cartridges. If you want to see a video that I did on those, click the card above. And just like every other Game Boy console before it, it retains the region-free aspect of it, meaning that you can play other games from different regions, such as Japanese Game Boy Advance games if you so desire. And for the size of this little guy, the specs are actually pretty impressive. It weighs about 80 grams, or around 2.8 ounces. It has a 32-bit 16.8 MHz processor, a 2-inch backlit screen with adjustable brightness, with a resolution of 240 by 160, a built-in lithium-ion rechargeable battery, and a standard 3.5mm headphone jack. On a full charge, you can get about 8 hours of gameplay if the backlight is set to the default level. With the backlight brightness turned all the way up, you get about 5 hours of gameplay. Oh, and also, the start and select buttons have blue LED lights that shine through, which is a nice little touch. One of the features of this thing that really only made its way to the States was the option to have interchangeable colored faceplates. At the price of 9,900 yen or $99 in the US, on the first few days of the sales in Japan, the Micro sold around 170,000 units.
The Game Boy Micro was set to release on North American shelves September 19th, 2005, and with this release date came a lot of inadvertent negative criticism. Some stores just ignored the release date altogether and didn't even advertise that they were selling these and that it was something new. And other stores even delayed sales until as late as November 1st. I remember specifically finding out that this was a thing months after the initial release date. I walked into a retro video game store that also sold Japanese import games called Pink Godzilla, also known as Pink Gorilla today. The person that was working behind the counter showed me the Famicom Japanese model of this thing, and it blew my mind because I had not a clue that this was even out. I had no recollection of this even coming out. So it was pretty baffling because I was really up to date with what was happening with Nintendo at the time. Eventually, this did take a slow but steady toll on the sales for the Game Boy Micro, and as of 2007, which was the last year that the sales statistics for the Game Boy Micro were updated, it said that it only sold 2.2 million units worldwide, which in Nintendo's eyes is a major failure. And with that failure came a hefty price tag for this little thing because since they didn't sell very well, they're really hard to find now. So if you can find one, do not hesitate to buy it because you might not see another one. This is actually my roommate's Game Boy Micro. He let me borrow it for the video, and he was looking for one before this for years, and I still have yet to find one. I have every single model of the Game Boy and Nintendo DS, except for this one. So that should tell you how hard it is to find. And that's pretty much going to do it for this video. The Game Boy Micro is an oddity of Nintendo's history. It's something that a lot of people might forget about. It's one of Nintendo's biggest failures, believe it or not, and I don't know, it's always fascinated me because of how small it is and how clear and crisp the screen is. It's just a really nice little unit. Let me know down in the comments section what your guys' favorite Game Boy model is. Mine is probably the Game Boy Color, just because I really liked the games that came out at the time. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and the subscribe button to let me know that you want to see more content like this. I would like to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. Here they are right now. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. If you want to get a shout out like these guys got at the end of every video that I do, link is down below to my Patreon. It's a $1 a month tier that gets you a shout out at the end of every single video that I do. And I have merch. Link is down below in the description. Get a Nerd Lair t-shirt, Nerd Lair coffee mug, Nerd Lair phone case, Corona mask, whatever you want. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time in the Nerd Lair. Stay nostalgic.